war often begins with confidence. Leaders believe they can control it. They believe the strikes will be quick. The victory will be decisive. But history has a habit of turning decisions into lessons. And in 2026, a conflict between the United States and Iran became one of those lessons, a story about power and the consequences that followed. In early 2026, tensions in the Middle East were already boiling. For years, the United States accused Iran of developing dangerous nuclear capabilities. Iran denied the accusations. Diplomacy stalled. Negotiations collapsed. Then on February 28, 2026, everything changed. The United States and Israel launched coordinated strikes across Iran. The operation targeted military bases, nuclear facilities, and government compounds in cities like Tehran, Isfahan, and Kermanshah. The goal was simple: destroy Iran's strategic infrastructure, then enforce political change. The attack shocked the world, but what happened next shocked it even more. Within hours, Iran responded. Missiles and drones were launched toward American bases across the region. Targets included U.S. installations in Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia. Air defenses lit up the night sky. Sirens screamed across military bases. One attack damaged the U.S. 5th Fleet headquarters in Bahrain, showing that American forces themselves were now targets. This wasn't a distant war anymore. The battlefield had spread across the entire region, and the dominoes had started falling. Then came the move that shook the global economy. Iran threatened shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most important oil routes in the world. Nearly 20% of global oil shipments pass through that narrow waterway. When missiles and drones began targeting ships and nearby infrastructure, global markets panicked. Oil prices surged. Airlines canceled flights. Shipping companies stopped sending tankers through the area. Within days, the economic consequences reached far beyond the battlefield. Factories slowed, stock markets dropped, gas prices rose. The war had created a chain reaction. The United States had expected military dominance, and in many ways it had it. Advanced bombers struck deep underground facilities. Naval forces targeted Iranian warships and drone carriers, but even overwhelming power couldn't control the chaos of retaliation. Missiles kept coming. Drone attacks spread across Gulf states. American soldiers were killed at bases in the region, and the conflict began draining resources faster than expected. At home, Americans started asking questions. Why were gas prices rising? Why were markets unstable? Why were soldiers still dying? War had opened a door that no one could easily close. Inside Washington, the conflict created political turmoil. Congress debated whether the president had the authority to continue the war without formal approval. A vote was held. The decision was close, but the military campaign continued. The world watched as the United States, one of the most powerful nations in history, found itself pulled deeper into a conflict it had started. Not because it wanted to, but because war rarely stops when you want it to. The true lesson of the war wasn't about missiles, it wasn't about fighter jets or submarines. It was about consequences. Every strike created retaliation. Every retaliation created escalation. The war that was meant to end a threat ended up spreading instability across the region and global economy, and the biggest realization slowly appeared that in modern conflicts, even the strongest nations cannot control the chain reaction once it begins. Years from now, historians may argue about who was right. They may debate strategy, politics, and military power. But one lesson will remain clear. In war, every action writes the next chapter, and sometimes that chapter becomes the karma no one expected.